Are you guys ready for cannibalism and self-mutilation? I hope so. Haunted is a novel written by Chuck Palahniuk, and it documents the events that take place when a bunch of people answer an ad to abandon their lives for 3 months in order to write the masterpiece that they have within them. What happens when they feel the need to suffer for their art? Let's find out. So I've thought a lot about how I'm going to structure this, and I think what I'm going to do is introduce the characters to you first and then go over what happens in the story, because in the actual story there's not a whole lot that happens. It's I'd say the bulk of the story is from just getting to know these characters and their backstories. So I'm gonna do that first, and I will be ordering the characters from least to most disturbing backstory. Please bear in mind that what I find spooky and disturbing isn't necessarily what you're going to find spooky and disturbing. It's just my opinion. Before I start with my disturbing countdown, I'm going to introduce the two organizers of the event. First, we have Mr. Whittier. He is the host of this writer's retreat. Man, I hope I don't have problems saying writer's retreat, since I say it a lot in this video. Oh well. He looks old, but he's actually a 13-year-old boy who suffers from some disease that makes his body age rapidly or something. He's Benjamin Button, basically. He has become incredibly wealthy by marrying older women, lying about being of age, and then blackmailing them, revealing, surprise, I'm a baby. Next, we have Mrs. Clark. She is a housewife slash failed amateur porn actress whose daughter went missing for 3 months before showing back up looking like she just got off the set of Martyrs. When her daughter returns, she's not the same person anymore. You know, she's completely mutilated her body, and they ask her, you know, who did this to you, what happened, and she said, oh no, I did all this to myself. And it turns out that the writer's retreat that we're reading about in our timeline, in our current timeline, is not the first one that Mr. Whittier has ever organized. So Mrs. Clark is devastated. She's tried everything to get her daughter, you know, back to normal. Lots of therapy, I assume, but basically all her daughter does is go to school, come home, and paint, which I don't know what Mrs. Clark is complaining about. If that were my kid, I would be completely happy. At least I know she's not getting into trouble or anything. So that's just me. Upset because she knows she'll never have her daughter back, she kills her daughter by overdosing her, and the police of course find out. She joins Mr. Whittier's retreat as his assistant, not only because she's wanted by the police, but also to find out what exactly happened to her daughter. So those are the two key organizers of the retreat, and now I'm going to introduce the people who answered the ad. Again, I'm ordering these from least to most disturbing, in my opinion. First up, we have Miss America. She's a model who wants to become famous by trying to sell some workout equipment on TV. And that's pretty much it. That's her. Number 2 is the missing link. He's a member of this made-up Native American tribe that is said to be able to turn into Sasquatches. The plural for that is weird. While on a date with a woman, she starts talking about how this one plane crash was caused by a female Bigfoot, and the missing link states that that was in fact his sister. Number 3, we have Miss Sneezy, a woman with chronic sinus issues who claims that she was quarantined on an island because she has some incurable airborne terminal illness, and she escaped the quarantine and joined up with the retreat. Following that, at number 4, we have Lady Bag Lady. She's an older rich lady who used to dress up as a homeless person with her husband, just because they were bored and quirky. One day while on the streets, they witnessed the kidnapping of a famous Brazilian heiress. The men responsible for the kidnapping began killing homeless people and looking for the man and woman who were witness to their crime. They actually end up killing her husband, which, I mean, all they had to do was stop dressing up like homeless people, I feel like, so I don't know how the fuck that happened. Damn it, Joanne, I just can't stop being quirky! So after they kill her husband, Lady Bag Lady joins the retreat to go into hiding. Next we have number 5, which is Mother Nature. She's a hippie, just full-on hippie. Her best friend's name is Lentil, and she's also a reflexologist. She at one point used those particular skills in a prostitution ring, getting dudes off by just touching their feet. She joined the retreat to escape the Russian mafia after witnessing her friend murder her pimp. Number 6 is Duke of Vandals, an artist who used to sneak his paintings into museums, because apparently if you just start hanging up pictures in museums, they don't take them down. So eventually these people caught on to him, and they approached him about having to possibly do jail time. Or on the flip side, they could offer him fame and fortune beyond his wildest dreams if he kills his predecessor, who is an artist whose sales, I guess, are starting to dip, and the artist is worth more dead than alive. So he goes through with that and becomes a famous artist, but then his popularity starts to dip. And now he is worried that the same thing is going to happen to him. So he also goes into hiding in this writer's retreat. Following at number 7, we have Chef Assassin. He's a chef, obviously, and he murders critics who write negative reviews for him. He then blackmails the knife companies, saying that he'll tell the world that he only uses their knives to kill his victims unless they give him like millions of dollars. At number 8, we have Countess Forsyte. She is a woman who experiences psychic visions from touching objects. One day she went into an antique shop and the owner showed her what he said was the fetus of Marilyn Monroe's miscarried child in a jar on his wall. And she suddenly, so she touches the jar and all of a sudden she sees a vision that this is definitely Marilyn Monroe's miscarried fetus, and what's more is the antique owner is actually the man who murdered her. So she naturally takes a knife and slices his throat, and in the commotion the jar falls to the ground and breaks, and it reveals that the fetus inside was actually just a plastic baby doll. Next up, number 9, is the Reverend Godless. He's a former Marine who dresses up in drag and has people pay to punch him in the face. He then uses that money to start a war on religion. Clearly this is the future all of us liberals strive for. Next at number 10 is Sister Vengeance. She's a nun that probably murders people with a bowling ball in order to keep the crime rate down in her city. Following that at number 11, we have Agent Tattletale. This is a man who continued to receive drugs and workman's comp after he had already recovered from a back injury. One day he catches a private investigator spying on him, ready to turn him in for fraud, and he decides to kill this man. The way that it's described is just so brutal to me. First he tries to poison him by locking him in an outhouse and just dropping bug bomb after bug bomb in through the pipe. And when that doesn't work, he's like, well, I guess I'm gonna resort to bludgeoning. And I mean, I already kind of assumed, but they go into great detail about how difficult it is to bludgeon someone to death. So that was fun. That was a fun read. After he kills this dude, he then takes his identity and begins doing the job of the private investigator, and he finds himself in a similar position, locked up in some woman's shed, probably about to die because he was looking into her for fraud. I can't remember if the story explains how he escaped or not. Sorry. At number 12, we have the Lord of Slander, a writer for a paper who discovered one day that his dog's vet is a former child celebrity. He wants to write a piece on him for their paper, so he goes to his editor, who just turns the idea down because writing stories about celebrities who become well-adjusted normal people is not very entertaining. So the Lord of Slander murders the vet, frames it as a drug overdose, and litters his house with thousands and thousands of pictures of children in indecent situations, all in order to write a breaking story on the man's sordid life. Number 13 is Comrade Snarky. She's a TERF who is part of a women's only support group. One day a woman who is obviously a man comes in to join the support group, and they refuse to let this woman in because apparently everything about her is just too perfect, and she's really just the perfect idea of what a male thinks that a female is, or something. I don't understand their logic whatsoever. So they make this woman prove that she's female by forcing her to strip and then proceeding to molest her, thus becoming the very thing that they hate.